Hello, my name is Russ Milheim, and I am from the Direct. I am thrilled to be bringing to you today our very first video review, this time for Sony Pictures' Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. Before we dive into it, if you guys could please, like, subscribe, let us know what you think of my thoughts on this movie. Make sure to check out our interviews, any other content we have. We greatly appreciate it. We want to keep it coming. With that said, right back to Ghostbusters. Is it worth your time? Well, I want to start out by saying that personally, I am more of a casual participant in the franchise. I've seen all the films. My memory of the original ones isn't too great, but with this one, I really enjoyed it. I'm not going to really be comparing it too much to the original because, as I said, I'm not the biggest fan. So I don't think that would quite be fair. But with this one in particular, I will say that I think it is better than Afterlife. I enjoyed it better than Afterlife, and I think it was fun. I had a good time with it. It follows the same new group of characters that we first met in Afterlife, right? You have McKenna Grace's Phoebe, you have Paul Rudd's Gary, Finn Wolfhard's Trevor, Gary Coons's Callie. The Spangler family, as they are now, this new unit. They now live and reside in New York City, where they are in the original, Ghostbusters firehouse, and they're basically professional Ghostbusters. And I think this alone really marks a unique starting point for this particular story, and I think that helps it out, just from the onset there. I'm gonna start by going character by character. First on the list, you have McKenna Grace's Phoebe. McKenna is a wonderful actress. She's great. I want to see her in more things. I think this is just an example of just how good she is. Now, a key part of her storyline in this movie, I can't really elaborate on too much without giving away spoilers, but I will say that she has a neat dynamic with a new character. I think some people might think it's a little undercooked. For me, it mostly worked. However, now when it comes to Paul Rudd's Gary, I think he gets number two.
Right. Well, overruled.
Sustained.
In terms of focus, and that's because it's right there with McKenna. Their storylines are kind of connected in what they're dealing with. Gary he was once Phoebe's teacher. Now he's basically her father, but they don't know when or how to use that term on either end. And so, Gary's dealing with navigating how to be this father in this new dynamic. And I think it's a really interesting storyline that they both excel with. Obviously, Paul Rudd is Paul Rudd, so you're going to get exactly what you expect, and he's great, and it's hard for him to do any wrong. So he's as great as you would think. Then there is Finn Wolfhard and Carrie Coon. Now, obviously, Finn, great actor. Everyone knows him from Stranger Things. Very popular. So it's kind of strange with this film how he is basically he's tagging along for a ride. He's there. Doesn't get too much to do. The story does attempt to give him a journey, an evolution. I don't think it ever fully sticks. It never really it never reaches its destination. There's no resolution. And so in the end, the result is he participates in the story. He's a member of the family, but not too much more. And in a similar vein, I would say Carrie Coon's Callie has kind of that same position.
What?
I've been a big fan of Carrie since her days on The Leftovers, so I'm happy to watch her in anything, and she's great in this. She's fun to watch. The family as a whole is a strong point, I think, for me in the movie. They're dynamic. They work really well. A new face, Kamal Nanjiani's Nadeem. Can't really speak details about his character, but he is new. He is exactly what you'd expect. He plays like this comedic, very much, there for some laughs.
We're all going to die.
But he is, very important to the story. He is not just there for jokes. So don't worry about that. He has a role to play, and he does it well. I think he was a good addition compared to Afterlife. Of course, there's all these new faces, but there are returning faces from the original movies. You have Ernie Hudson, Dan Aykroyd, Bill Murray. They're all back.
Melnitz in uniform. Yeah.
Original fans are going to get a kick out of everything they do. If you're not too familiar with any of the original stuff or just aren't all that invested, that's fine too. Not much will be lost on you. You'll enjoy this movie and everything they're doing. You won't have trouble following along. So don't worry about that. Now, as for the overall story, it doesn't do too much, it's not the most unique movie out there. Uh, but it does a good job with what it does give. I think it handles, besides, kind of what I was saying with Callie and Trevor not having too much to do, it does a fairly good job at juggling its characters and how it splits up characters and the narrative. There is a lot of exposition as with something like this, but I think for the most part it's delivered fine. It's, again, nothing too groundbreaking, and nothing insulting, nothing bad in terms of how they give all this new information about the threat. I'll get to the threat in a second, but I do want to mention that there's a lot of, one thing I noticed is there's a lot of kind of eye roll worthy techno babble, uh, all these words that just they want you to believe that they make sense, but you're just too stupid to get it. But it all sounds really silly. It's easy to forgive. It's not really done in any kind of horrible manner, but when you hear too much of it, it's kind of like, okay, we get it. You're trying to make up stuff. But I do want to praise the lore of the movie for going to unique places with just exploring what this world looks like, where people know ghosts are a thing and the Ghostbusters are active, and people know about them. And so there's some unique steps in what maybe those kind of, like what Ghostbusters would do in a modern day setting, what the next step is there. So I think that was really neat to see. Now the threat, the main villain in this movie, goes by the name of Garaka. Again, I will avoid details. I'll let you guys watch it to experience it all. But Garaka is the big bad. I think he's great. I really like his design. I think he's scary. He's an interesting lore. I will say though that his threat, the stakes lack bite. They lack, that it never fully feels like people are in danger. Uh, I think the best example of this, and you can kind of see it in the trailer, in some of the trailers and promotional video, is you got this huge ice storm coming into the city, and you have all these people on this beach, and even just in the city, and then all of a sudden, ice spikes are starting to pop out of everywhere, but somehow with hundreds and hundreds of people everywhere, every one of these random ice spikes somehow misses people all the time. I think I only saw it hit inanimate objects and cars, and obviously, it's rating, and that's why, and they didn't want to be too violent, but it does make you kind of feel like, okay, I mean, is anyone actually in danger? Is this really a threat? Like, they're telling me it's a threat and it looks bad, but no one's, there doesn't seem to be any real consequences to this. And I think that villain, or that problem extends a little bit further into some more intimate details later in the movie, but I'll leave that as is. But overall, I like the villain, but there's no doubt there would have been room to improve and just maybe make his bite a little more noteworthy. When it comes to special effects, I think the special effects were mostly across the board very well done. I think that they found a really good balance between CGI and practical effects. You can tell a lot in a good way. A lot of the ghosts, they tried to do some practical elements there and mix it, and I think it all looked really good. So they found a good way to pull off all of that stuff. End of the day, do I recommend this movie? Absolutely. If you don't, if you truly don't care about Ghostbusters at all, I don't think there's anything in this movie that is going to sway you to enjoy the franchise more or care particularly. I mean, besides maybe your personal enjoyment of some of these actors. But if you even just casually enjoy the franchise, you'll probably like this movie. It's hard to see why you wouldn't find anything to it, or why you would really hate it. Um, I would recommend it. I had fun with it, so you know, if you have any interest, I think it's worth going out there to see. But it did what it needs to do. When you go to a movie, you want to enjoy what you're sitting down and watching, and even if it isn't like it doesn't blow you away, or it's not the best thing ever, it's not movie of the year material. I had fun with it. I enjoyed my time sitting down in the theater for 2 hours, and I look forward to what the franchise has next. I hope this new cast of characters gets another adventure or two. Now, the important part, let me know what you guys thought in the comments. Am I crazy for liking this movie even a little bit? Did you think it was a good direction for the franchise? Does it need another reset? Let us know in the comments. I'm curious to know what everyone else thought. But until next time, until the next movie we're able to review, in the meantime, make sure to keep an eye on the channel, like, subscribe, and until next time.